Representative Sims.
Right now, can everybody hear me? I know I got a pretty big mouth. Right now, it's currently in committee. The bill, there's a House version and a Senate version. The House version, it's still sitting in what's called the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee is the committee where bills are assigned from. The Speaker, who's actually just quoted in the paper yesterday, saying that he doesn't think that there's currently enough votes to pass it. Yeah. And he's working to round those votes up. And as soon as he says as soon as he hits the 60 votes, you'll see that board see the bill hit the floor. So that's where we are right now.
Then when it goes to the floor, that's when like arguments take place.
That's right. That's right. I got a couple questions, if you don't mind. Who's been to Springfield? Who's ever contacted their state senator or state representative? If you have not done that, please do that. Please, please, please do that. You know, there are issues. There are times where I know for myself, I'll get hundreds of calls and emails about an issue, but it always, my interest and the response is a lot different when I have people who are my constituents call and say to me, Representative, this is important to me personally. They come and they see me and they say, Representative, this is important. So if you have not done that, I would encourage everybody in this room to at least reach out to your personal state representative or state senator. So they would love to hear from you directly. That's part of the organizing that we've got to do, is we've got to make sure that we are reaching out not only to all of us, and also start with, look at those there. As I looked at the sponsorship list on the bill in the House, there's somewhere around 20 representatives who are sponsors of that bill. We want to encourage those to go out and talk to 40 more, because there are only 3 numbers that matter in Springfield: 60, 30, and 1. 60 members of the House of Representatives, 30 members of the Senate, and the governor. He's got to sign it. So we want to make sure that we are encouraging those who already support it to make sure that they are helping to bring 40 more in the House. And for the 10 or so, 12 or so in the Senate that are supported, make sure that they're pushing so that we got 30 in the Senate and we can pass it. So that's what we've got to do. Part of the organizing starts with understanding who is already with us, those who just need a little encouragement, and those who need a full education. That's part of the organizing part.
As a representative, what would pressure you the most to make you take a stance on an issue? Would it be the phone calls? Is it letters? Is it somebody showing up to your office?
I don't know if pressure is the word I would use. I would use more in terms of the convincing or the education. What I would suggest that when you have the communications with your elected officials, it should not be an antagonistic encounter. That sets back what we're trying to do. You can always, you want to be forceful. You want to definitely have an agenda when you talk to the elected official. You want to get some deliverables from them, but it should not be an antagonistic encounter. Antagonistic encounter sets you back. So what I would say, when you do have the conversation with the elected official, have it be fact-based. 400,000 individuals in the state of Illinois are living on the minimum wage. What I always find the most convincing is when you have the fact-based argument, but then you lay out what the other side says, and you debunk the arguments that the other side makes. One of the biggest issues that you're going to hear from the opponents is this is going to cost us jobs. And they're going to cite the Congressional Budget Office's report saying that it's going to cost several hundred thousand jobs nationwide if we go to an increased minimum wage. What you would say to that is, okay, that is an argument, but we have seen when there have been minimum wage increases in the past, there have not been job losses. What you have seen is an increase in consumer spending. So we've got to take the arguments that are going to be laid out and be able to refute them. But we don't have to fight on. We don't have to argue with the elected official. What we have to do, what we've got is the truth on our side. So we don't have to worry about trying to attack. We just got to lay out the facts.
I saw 2 hands in the back. Right.
My question to you, you said that they need 40 more votes because they're in the House. How long will it take them to get 40 votes?
It depends. It really does depend. It depends on a number of different factors. Because what we have before us as we move towards the end of the session. So let me lay out for you where we are. Currently, we're on what's called our spring recess. We got 2 weeks. We're off for the Easter break weekend, for the Easter weekend holiday. So we're off for the last 2 weeks. When we go back on Tuesday, we're going to be there for the march towards May 31. So for the next 6 weeks, we're going to be there. So it's going to, within that time, we've got to deal with. So we've got to deal with extending the tax increase. We've got to, and from there, we've got to deal with what's going to happen with the budget. Because if you don't extend the tax increase, if you don't extend the tax rates the way they were, you've got to pass a budget that has massive cuts. So we've got that to do. We've got pensions to deal with. We've got pensions from police and fire in the city of Chicago, police and fire outside of the city of Chicago. You've got teachers outside in Chicago. So you've got those issues that are still on tap. So there are a number of issues that we're still going to be dealing with between now and May 31. So what's going to happen, within that time, we're still going to have those discussions about how this is going to play in the overall structure of the session. So it's part of the overall discussion that's going to happen.
Just to give you a little bit more clarity, on the Senate side, we did move the bill out of the Senate Executive Committee. So the bill did get moved out of the Senate Executive Committee. On the Senate side, we're about 3 votes shy of getting to the 30 that we need. We have right now 27 individuals who have voiced their support either through sponsors or through our roll call. On the House side, we have a lot more work to do, but we're trying to do what we can to gain the momentum on the House side to move the bill on the House side. That's the reason why getting you engaged in the process becomes so critical, so that you can help us influence the legislators to understand how important this particular issue is to the community. I think
let me piggyback on that too, and that was the point I was getting to as it relates to those individuals who are supporters. You don't want to spend all of the time that you need on the supporters. What you want to spend the time on is convincing those who are not supporters. So you can start with those who have identified themselves as being supporters, because you would naturally assume that if an individual sponsors a piece of legislation, they're going to vote for it. So you can start there and help build our coalition from there.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, with the pension, the pension has been on the table for a year, 2 years. I'm trying to find out whether or not this bill is going to be on the table for a year or 2 years, because in 2 years, $10.65 will only be worth $3.
Right. Well, one of the things is we have been engaged in this fight. One of the things that is important for us to understand as a community, that we made several concessions in this particular bill. One of the things that we did was we wanted to have a cost of living increase included in the bill, so that we did not have to come down every 2 to 3 years to engage in this minimum wage fight. We actually pulled that particular piece out of the bill in an attempt to gain some more support in terms of passing the legislation. You're absolutely right. We don't want this particular situation to continue to sit and lay. So this is the reason why it's important that we all get involved, we all get engaged, we all do our part in terms of calling our elected officials to help them to understand how important this particular issue is to the community. I saw another question somewhere in this session. Go ahead. Right there.
Me? My question is, when we look at the poverty line, the national poverty line, I just looked it up, for a family of 3, it's $19,000. And we're fighting for $10.63 an hour, which is $22,000 a year. We're still looking at poverty no matter what you look at. So are we really fighting for poverty, or are we fighting to change that, or are we fighting for crumbs?
No, excellent question. One of the things, Alderman Sawyer was supposed to be here. He was actually confirmed to be here. Alderman Sawyer was going to be here to speak on behalf of the Progressive Caucus, because Representative Sims is speaking to the state minimum wage legislation that we have. The second component of our fight is we're also engaged in the city minimum wage fight, and that particular piece is a living wage for $15 an hour. So one of the things that we did in the last election that just took place in March is we had a non-binding ballot referendum in 102 precincts asking the voters would they be in favor of increasing the city minimum wage to $15 an hour. And actually 9 out of those 10 voters actually stated that they would be in favor of increasing the city minimum wage to $15 an hour. So I apologize that Alderman Sawyer is not here today, but that is the second fight that we're also engaged in. This is a three-pronged fight. We have the city minimum wage fight that we're underway with, we have the state minimum wage fight that we're underway with, and we also have a federal minimum wage fight that we're engaged in, because we know that President Obama has been talking about a minimum wage of $10.10 an hour. So there's 3 fights on 3 different levels. And so that's the reason why it's important for all of us to get engaged and understand the difference between these issues so that we can make sure that our electeds know that this is an important issue to us. I saw a hand somewhere over here. Presiding Officer Tyson?
Yeah, excuse me, my question to Representative Sims. Is the Speaker of the House supportive of this bill?
I can't speak to whether the Speaker support or not support. I don't know. I would ask.
The reason I ask is because if he supports the bill, you've got your votes.
Well, I don't know if I agree with you there. I mean, there have been plenty of bills that he has been supportive of that have not passed. He's had it, and he has the millionaire tax that I was actually a sponsor with him on that doesn't have the votes to pass. So that's not always true. It's not always true, but that's so I don't know where he stands on this one.
Right here in front.
You, in response to an earlier question, you said that the Speaker was trying to line up the 60 votes in the House. There was an implication in that he was working, that he was supportive of it if he's working to get the bill to 60 votes. And now your response here is that...
No, I'm saying I have not had a personal conversation with him to know where he stands on the bill. So I don't want to speak to his support or non-support. I don't know. Because I've not had a direct conversation with him about this bill.
Was there another question we had in mind?
It seems like it would be important to know where he stands somehow. Not personally you, but in general. Like, to know where he does stand. But how does that work? Does he often give his opinions on legislation?
Again, I'm not the lead sponsor on the bill, so I've not had a direct conversation with him about the legislation.
Who's the lead sponsor?
Art Turner is the lead sponsor.
Yeah, Art Turner is the lead sponsor of the legislation, and one of the things that did take place in the House side is that we did have subject matter hearings in the Illinois House Labor Committee that took place in March. So the subject matter hearings I don't have the exact date in front of me right now off the top of my head, but they did have subject matter hearings on the House side in the Illinois House Labor Committee.
What's that?
Where the committee considers, they allow the individuals who are for the bill to come before the committee and speak, and then they have those individuals who are opponents of the bill to also come before the committee and speak.
It's a process. It's a customary process where we've done that on a number of different issues. So before you take a vote on it, you allow individuals come testify on the bill, and then we move forward with it on another day.
What you were saying earlier is to concentrate on the people who are opposed right now. You got 20, but
we actually have a little bit more than 20.
Well, I'm saying just as it relates
to the co-sponsors.
The sponsors. You know the sponsors of the bill. Those are the folks you can count as they're going to be supportive of the bill. I think the roll call is different than that. I would say the roll call is probably in the neighborhood of somewhere 45, 50 votes. That'll be my estimate right now. But it's identifying who that other 20 is, that 20 to 30, and then the other 10 after that. You really want to go from 10 to 15, so you get a number where you get somewhere around 70, 75. So you got a good number of members who are going to support the bill.
So when people go to Springfield, they're actually directly talking to the people who would be opposed.
Let me interject right there. One of the things that we do is we do lobby days. And that's the reason why I was asking you all to fill out this sheet in terms of the count on me, because we take individuals down to Springfield so you can actually have a face-to-face conversation with your respective elected official. Because sometimes it may be difficult to get them when they're in the city, important issues.
So when you lobby with your own, when you talk with your own elected officials, that would give them some fodder maybe to influence somebody else.
Exactly. We need individuals to volunteer the phone bank. We need like 10 individuals to say, yes, you can count on me. We just need a day that's going to be set aside, and we're going to contact every single elected official and let them know that this particular issue is important to us. We need individuals to volunteer for our lobby days. When we go down to Springfield, and we just had a major rally in Springfield at the Rotunda a couple of weeks ago. And so this is the reason why I asked you to fill that particular sheet out, because we need to get you engaged. We need to make sure that you're up to date in terms of the information and that you can help us in this